Hello, listeners. Here we are again this week. My name is Charles Scott Sr., and I'm with Charles Scott Jr.
How you guys doing today? Welcome to Can We Talk? We come weekly with information regarding not just real estate, but things that can help you in your life, whether it's business or financial related.
If you haven't been listening to us, we come in on a weekly basis. I am the broker, and also my son's a broker, and we're with Tri-State Realty here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. We've been in business celebrating 38 years,
Yes.
and I am also past president of the local board of realtors in Waterbury, the New Haven Waterbury, Greater Waterbury Board of Realtors.
Correct.
So we're going to give you some information today and give you an idea of what's happening within the last couple of weeks in the real estate market.
Like I was saying, it's always changing. Every week's exciting because, as you see, the news is influencing things, and we still have low inventory. But things are still getting better, I would think, for the first-time home buyer. A lot of new programs are being in place,
Of which we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the down payment assistance programs. Right now, some people are having a difficulty finding a house or buying a house.
Yes.
And it's not because in some cases they can't pay the mortgage payment, it's because they don't have the down payment or the closing costs. So today we're going to talk about and give you some ideas of some of the things you can do. My son will go over some of the programs that are out there.
Yes.
A lot of the banks have programs for if you're a first-time home buyer and you haven't purchased a property. And right now it's the millennials, and they got what they call the Gen Z. People that are trying to purchase a property because the rents are so high. There was a candidate that ran for president some years ago, if you remember, and he ran on his saying was the rent's too high.
Yeah, I remember that. That was 2008, and that was back then. Now we're seeing it's even more higher, I would say. And with the rent being so high, people are saying, why am I renting when I can go and buy a house? But when they go to buy a house, they're seeing there's other challenges. But that's why we're here to help.
One of the things we want to talk about is a program called a Time to Own.
Yes, Time to Own is back in Connecticut. It's been refunded. And like we mentioned last week, it's basically there to get people down payment assistance and also closing costs.
One of the things I want to mention today is that we teach a lot of home buying classes. I know my son has been actively involved in teaching first-time home buyer classes for a lot of the nonprofit agencies.
Yes.
And if you have an agency near you, we suggest that you take a home buying class. They don't cost anything. They're HUD approved, HUD certified, and they teach you a lot about buying a home. Even if you're not ready right now, you need to know what you have to do to get started. A lot of people that I've talked to in the past years, they say, I'm not ready to buy a house right now. I have some things to work on in my credit. I have to do this. I have to do that. And they don't really know. They end up sometimes paying the wrong bills off. And there's such a thing as paying the wrong bills, or how you structure paying the bills. So, when you take a class, one of these home buying classes, they give you an ideas to help you with your credit repair, and also what you can use for income, can't use for income. Sometimes people out there, you get paid under the table,
Yes.
And you figure, I'm getting cash. You can't use that to buy a house.
No, you can't.
If the bank can't verify the income, then that's not going to help you out. So we advise people, if dealing with a boss and he's paying you, have him put it on the books, pay taxes, and you pay taxes, because that way there you can verify the amount of income that you have coming in.
Now remember, if you're going to be applying for a mortgage, most times they want 2 years of paychecks, pay stubs. Or I would say if you went to school, for example, say you went to school for nursing and you get a job as a nurse fresh out of school, then that counts as schooling, that time in school. So
we might as well get started. One of the programs that the state of Connecticut has come out with, and they refunded it. It's a new program, but when I say new, they've had the program before. It's first come, first serve. So you have to be a state resident. You can't come in from out of another state and take advantage of this program.
Exactly.
This is free money, people. Free money. You get the ads on TV where people are giving away free money. Well, guess what? This is real free money.
Yes, and I would say that make sure the first step is I would say check their website out, the Chaffel website, because I would say not every banking institution is participating in the time to own program. There's certain ones that you want to be working with that have knowledge on how to process these types of programs.
Right, it's called a time to own. You can go onto the website, you can look it up, you can see what it's all about. And they can give you up to $25,000 to $50,000 of free money to help you buy a house.
Yes.
And you have to live in the house within a certain amount of years. And
10 years.
10 years, and you do not pay that money back. It's yours. So that means the house can build up equity.
Yes.
And you can buy the house. It'll leverage you to be able to buy a more expensive house than you would normally be able to get into. But more than anything, can you imagine if you're buying a house and you're getting $25,000 down to help you? How long would it take you to save that money?
Exactly.
Or if you're buying it in certain areas, up to $50,000. We had a client recently bought a house. They gave that client $37,500 to buy a house.
Real money too.
Yeah, like we say, because most people say
they
they don't
think it's
believe
unrealistic.
it.
They're like-
They like, you know, they even, and you know, that portion comes from the state. The other portion comes from the bank. Even the banker said, you know, it really closed. That was
Exactly.
oh no, it was the attorney. Remember?
The attorney said that.
The attorney was amazed. She said, "Wow, Charles, you know, these people got $37,500 to buy a house. What
Correct.
was this program when I bought a house?"
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. You want to make sure you act fast because, I mean, the program's been around since last August. I mean, it's like my father says, first come, first serve. They're hoping to keep it funded throughout the year, but, you know, things may change. So if you have any questions, definitely give us a call because, like my father said, we've had actual closings using this program. We have experience.
Yes, give us a call. There, you can see our number there. It's 203-334-7434.
Yes.
Or any other questions that you may have, you know, related to real estate. Oh, got the phone here.
Exactly.
Any other questions that you may have related to real estate, you can give us a call and we can talk to you about it.
Exactly. Now, with these programs, remember, like, when it comes to it, you have to make sure you're pre-approved. Make sure you're working for a mortgage broker that has experience in these programs, and do your own research because on the Chaff website they do have training videos that show you exactly what you need to do to be prepared to qualify for one of these loans.
We also advise you before you even go look at a house, get pre-qualified or pre-approved.
Yes.
So many people call us and they see a house on the internet. They say, "Oh, Mr. Scott, I'd like to go look at this house." And I say to them, "Well, have you been pre-approved? Have you been pre-qualified?" And they say, "Oh, no, what's that?" I said, "Well, that's where you go and you get the piece of paper and they tell you how much money they're going to give you."
Exactly.
Buying a house is unlike any other thing where you buy a car, you look for the car, and then you find the car, and then the dealer tries to find you some financing, or either you go to your bank account and you get the money.
If anything, it's the opposite. With buying a house, you want to make sure you're pre-approved first, see what your budget is, what can you shop for, then you begin I would say the shopping for the house with the realtor.
There's a lot of things that you have to do. Now, when we're talking about today, we're sort of like emphasizing the program on down payment assistance programs. There are also many banks out there that have their own particular program when you're looking to buy a house.
Yes.
Some banks may help you with just the closing costs. Some banks may give you a credit towards the charges that they have. When you go to get a mortgage, the bank charges you points, or they charge you a fee. They charge you for an appraisal. These are all some of the costs that they have from buying a house. They may give you $2,000. I got a recent advertisement, one of the banks sent me, said, for all your customers, we'll give them $2,000 off on the closing costs.
Exactly.
On the bank's fees. So that's $2,000 that you don't have to pay. Some of the other banks, they may give you up to $5,000 to $10,000 towards buying the house.
Correct.
That they will credit you with. There's all sorts of programs that a lot of the different banks have, and they want to encourage home buying within certain areas.
Exactly.
Even your employer. Check with your employer. There's certain, like right now, there's certain employers out there that will give their employees credit when they buy a house. There's certain hospitals in the area in Bridgeport that for years I've been working with for the last 10, 15 years. And what they do is they give their employees credit towards purchasing a property. In New Haven, there are certain hospitals that give the employees money towards purchasing a house. And, their theory is, let's say, for example, emergency care first responders, they have to be close to their trauma centers or a hospital. So if they can get their employees to buy a house close to where they work, then it's an advantage. They have less absenteeism.
Yes.
People are able to, if it's a big, huge snowstorm and you live across the street from the hospital or you live up the street, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get there. So they usually have a situation where they'll give you more money the closer you live towards the hospital. The further out you live, the less money they give you, but it's still free money that they give you to help you purchase that particular property.
Now, not only that, also look for credit unions. I would say look at your local credit unions because they have programs that may not be as advertised as with the larger banks, I would say, that may be perfect for your area, maybe very unique to whether it be Fairfield County or New Haven County, wherever you may be looking for a house. But make sure you look at alternatives rather than, I saw a study where people spend more time shopping for furniture and their vacations than a mortgage. They see the first number they see, they get a call from a mortgage broker or they get an email from a company and they go with that.
Well, not only, if you live within a certain city, some cities have different types of mortgage programs for their employees. There's a program that I remember years ago. It was called the Officer Next Door program. And that's if police officers buy a home within the city in which they work, then they get a discount on being able to get that mortgage. Or if it's a school teacher, or if it's a city employee. What happens in that particular case is that the city signs off along with the agency. It could be like CHAFA. And they have programs for city employees. So if you work in a particular city, you might want to check with your human resource people to see if that city offers a program to help you in purchasing a home. So as you can see, there's all kinds of different programs. We are well versed in all of these particular programs, and we can help you out. We can direct you to where you might be able to get some assistance.
Very true. I was going to say, there's many programs out there. Like my father said, we're very versed in those. But remember, I was going to say, there's different strategies to buy a house. Whether you use a program or not, we're here to help, and we have different strategies for you also.
Just like in the rental market, my son, he specializes in the rentals.
Yes.
Say a little bit about that. If you are out there and, for example, and right now the cost of the rents have skyrocketed.
Yes.
There's some programs that are out there that can assist you with your rental, and you have to, how can I say it? It's more work now in getting a rental apartment than there was in the past. I
would say it's hard to get an apartment than to buy a house right now.
Yes. In some cases, it's very time-consuming, a lot of due diligence. The landlords are not like before where you just knock on the door, hand them the money, and they hand you the keys, and you walk in. It's gotten a lot more difficult than that.
Yes.
And I'm sure that if you're out there and you're renting right now, you look all across America and you can see all of the different challenges that people are having. There's a lot of homelessness out there. People, and the new construction, a lot of the new construction right now is being geared towards apartment construction.
Yeah, single family, I would say 1-bedroom apartments. We're seeing a lot of those spring up.
Yeah, 1-bedroom apartment, 1 and 2-bedroom apartments. So if you've got a family of 3 or 4 children, it makes it even more difficult for you to get an apartment. And one of the biggest challenges that we have right now, what's that? People with pets.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Talk about that a little.
Yeah, I would say with pets, you're going to face a lot of, I'm not going to say discrimination, but a lot of landlords I work with, they say no pets. And when it comes to no pets, you have to say, what do I do with my pet now? Do I give it to my mother, my mother-in-law? Or sometimes you work out a deal with the landlord. But the thing is, a lot of these buildings are owned by management companies where it's set in stone, no pets, no cats, no dogs. So when it comes to that, there's no one to negotiate. It's set in, right there in the ink, no pets. And then at that point, you have to say, what can I do?
Well, the only other exception are this, what do you call it, service.
I was going to say service
emotional
animals.
Support service.
Yes.
They cannot deny you if you have an emotional
support animal
or a
service animal. For example, if you're blind and dog helps you see.
with a valid certificate.
Yes.
They have to be certified. You just can't say, I need my dog for emotional support.
Yeah, you would need some type of paperwork because it's not against the law for the landlord to request valid paperwork. And if after the paperwork is received, he may even be able to ask for a doctor's note.
Right, because that documentation is from the doctor, where the doctor verifies that you need the dog or the pet for emotional support, and then you get a certificate. Now, that certificate can be used to rent the apartment, but you can't just say it on your own without having some valid documentation.
Exactly.
And then what happens a lot of times is that some people will say their apartment is pet friendly, and they want to know how much the pet weighs.
Yes.
You can't. There's a big difference between what do you call those little dogs?
Chihuahua, Yorkie, and a pit bull, and a Rottweiler,
and a Rottweiler.
Very true.
Dog is not a dog, you know. And then there's the cats. So if you have an animal and you are renting right now, just think, maybe you rented that apartment 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and now you have to move, and now you have to go find another apartment, and maybe you have 2 cats and a dog. So what happens to the pets when you're going to find that new apartment?
Exactly. I mean, I saw in the news a lot of shelters are being overrun with dogs and cats people can't take care of because whether their housing situations have changed or maybe they moved out the state or lost their job. So make sure when you're looking for an apartment, do your research. You don't want to get to the end and find out that your pet can't come with you. And then at that point, you're going to catch 22.
So mainly what all of this amounts to is planning.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You've got to realize things are not like they used to be. And if anything, what's the ultimate decision? If you can purchase a property, if you can purchase your own home.
Oh, yeah.
You could put a big fence up in the back and the dog can run free. You can have as many cats as you want.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to start planning now, or maybe one of the things that has hindered you is that you cannot afford a house by yourself. Maybe you can't, because when you go to the bank to get that mortgage, the bank, more than anything, looks at your income.
Yes.
Income is what creates everything. You know, I can help you with the credit. You can help yourself with the credit. You can go to a credit repairing agency, a nonprofit, HUD-sponsored one that won't even charge you. They can help you with your credit. So that's something that can be you can get help with.
And I was going to say also with income, remember when you go to the bank, mortgage broker, and you sit down with them, explain to them, if you show them some large paychecks, explain to them if that's a check that you had overtime in. Maybe that was a once-in-a-lifetime check you get once a year. Make sure you give them your average paycheck because you don't want to get down the line where they reevaluate you and you can't get the house. They'll say, wait a minute, you're not making this much money, you're making this much.
Have that situation right now.
Yes.
Where an individual works 40 hours a week, gets paid on a 40-hour weekly basis, but does another 15 to 20 hours every week in overtime. Now, the problem there is that overtime just started and within the last 3 months. So the bank is not going to use that overtime unless the employer can write a letter saying that he's going to get that overtime every single week.
Exactly, or in some cases where the overtime is so steady, it's been actually, they can look at 2 years of paychecks and see, okay, that overtime is most likely guaranteed to them every week.
Exactly, and it's very hard to get an employer to write a letter saying that they're going to guarantee you overtime. Every week. Very true. The employer's basically got the overtime because maybe there's an employee that's out. Maybe right now their inventories are down. Exactly. So now you're working overtime. Well, if he puts in writing, especially if you work for a union shop, that he plans on giving you overtime, and you buy a house based on that, and now he says, oh, guess what, no more overtime. You go, well, you promised me, you put it in writing, that I'm going to have overtime every week, and now you go ahead and you bring him up on charges. Well, you know, I bought a house based upon what you said, so they're not, and first of all, it's the manager or the supervisor has got someone over him, and that person say, well, why'd you promise this guy overtime? Maybe his performance is not as good as it used to be, and now we have to give him overtime when we just can't keep him without firing him. So
that's why the bank must be careful. I mean, they get paychecks from people. they make thousands of dollars per week. It might have been just that one special week where someone was on maternity leave and they had to work both shifts. They did a double a couple times. Now the bank thinks you're making so much money, they may overfund your house purchase.
That's why I'm just letting you know out there that if you are thinking that you make a lot of money, and you probably do make a lot of money, realize now is the time to get pre-qualified or pre-approved
Yes.
to go in and sit down with the bank, because you may say, oh, I make $1,000 a week. You know, we work a lot with CNAs and we work a lot with nurses. And right now, that industry, they're making a lot of money.
Yes.
And because, you know, you have the traveling nurses.
Traveling nurse, the LPNs.
We work a lot with the medical field.
Yes.
Nurses, LPNs, and CNAs. And in some cases, you know, the nurse, she makes quite a bit of money because she's got all the nursing degree. The LPN is also making a lot of money because they're doing a lot of fill-ins, a lot of overtime.
Yes.
And the CNA is making money because they're working 2 and 3 jobs.
Yeah,
when I
let's
say 2 and 3 jobs, 2 or 3 patients.
Be careful. I'm talking to my CNAs out there. Remember, when you have the patient, you're working, I would say, after your job at the hospital. If they're paying you below the table, under the table, I'll say cash, that's not going to be able to count towards your house pre-approval because it has to be money that you're paying taxes on.
Exactly. So if you're making that kind of money, in some cases you could be making $1,000 to $1,200 a week, and you might work for 2 agencies and 1 private duty.
Yes.
See, we know this stuff inside out.
Private duty, that's what gets them.
So you got a private duty. This is where someone calls you up and they say, hey, I want you to take care of my mother, my grandmother, she's sick, but I don't want to go through the agency. I'll give you $500 a week cash every week to take care of my mother or my aunt. So now you're picking up an extra $500 a week, but it's all in cash and you're not reporting that income.
Exactly.
Now you go to buy a house and you say, oh, I make $1,500 a week. And I say, well, the other $500, oh, they pay me that cash. Well, you can't use that.
Can't use that.
That money cannot be used because it's not being recorded. And how can you prove that you get that $500 a week?
Yep.
Now, if they 1099 you, and at the end of the year, they give you a statement saying that they gave you cash for the last, let's say, year, that's $25,000, $500 a week. And they give you a 1099, they make you what they call an independent contractor.
Correct.
So they give you all the money, now it's your responsibility to pay taxes on it. So the bank can count that income even if you haven't paid the taxes on it because you still got the income.
Yes, you got the 1099 as proof.
And you can prove that you got that income. So that income can be used. It's when people get the income and they don't report anything.
Yes.
That becomes a problem. Now, if you work 2 or 3 different agencies, that's okay because it just means more work for the mortgage company.
Correct.
Because they've got to add up all of those different income. You have to be in there over 2 years. You can't have 3 months here, 2 months here, 6 months here. When you get a mortgage, they want you to be on the job at least 2 years.
Yes.
Or if you're doing work for a lot of different agencies, well, let's say you're doing work for one agency, and that one agency has you taking care of 3 or 4 clients. The fear always is that with a CNA, one of the clients dies.
Oh, yes.
Or the house that you're going to, she falls and she ends up in the hospital. And now you can't go there, so that's your income is down because now for the next 3 or 4 weeks or a month,
So you find another patient.
they got to find you someone else to go see. If not, then your income varies. Now your income is down. So as you can see, we work a lot with this field. And then you have the CNAs. They get paid either per diem by the day, or they get paid actually by the hour, or either they get paid by the patient, or a facility or an agency. There's all sorts of ways in which if you are a CNA, that you get paid. Unlike a nurse or an LPN that works at just a hospital or a convalescent home, nursing home. It's steady, it's 40 hours, it's fair, pretty easy. But if you're a CNA, we're just letting you know we work with these situations.
I was going to say, we work with a lot of situations that comes with people from the medical field and the different, I would say, unique traits that come with that.
Yes, we for the year, many years, we've worked with a lot of different people in the medical field, and we've helped them get homes, because even if it's just you yourself, now remember, you can add the husband's income in there also. So if the husband's got a job, been on the job 2 years, then you join the two together. Or maybe if it's a sister and
Or
a
like
mother.
we did, I would say like last year, we helped a mother and a son. Mother was a nurse, and the son, they drove trucks. So they combined their income. They bought a nice property.
They got it. Right. And she ended up buying a 2-family house
Yes.
in a situation, and it had an attic. So in a situation like that, it had a finished area. So she had an apartment for the other son.
Yep.
And the son that bought the house with her, he moved downstairs, she moved upstairs, and they had the attic. And so we had like all within that one particular property. Now here's where you take 3 different family, or same family, but they're paying 3 different rents, and now they're combining it into one rent.
Exactly.
So this is how you do it, and this is how you leverage. You got to leverage. Going forward, everyone is going to have to leverage in most cases, because the old days of affording one house and everybody got their own separate area and their own separate house, it's going to be more difficult.
I was going to say that. It's not impossible. Just you got to have a plan nowadays. It's not going to be as simple.
So we're here to help you, and that's some of the
Definitely.
things that we do, is we sit everybody down, we figure out what is it going to cost you, what do you need. We put you in touch with the mortgage person. The mortgage person will say, well, this is how much income all of you are going to need to make this happen. Then let's see if there's any programs that can help you. Maybe there is, maybe there's not, because it's also based on the income. Then we put the whole package, like putting a puzzle together.
That's what it's like. It's like building a team or putting a puzzle together when you're buying a house.
Exactly. Now we also work with the attorneys, and we work with the banks, so that you have a team that's working for you. And remember, we do not charge you anything. If you're looking to purchase a house, we don't charge you.
No fee.
We get paid by the seller. We do
Exactly.
not charge you any money to help you look for a house.
And I know we're about to have a closing. We go quick in this half an hour. I just want to tell people, remember, if you're looking for a house and then you might have a friend who has a realtor, and he says, use my realtor, you'll represent both of us. Remember, that's like going to a court case and without a lawyer. You want to have someone representing you. Get an agent. It's free. When you're on the buying side, their agent will be paid by the selling side. So I would say it's a disadvantage not to get a free service of, an experienced agent.
So again, if there's anything that we can do to help you, give us a call, 203-334-7434, or visit our website. You can go and you can Google us on YouTube, and we can answer most of your questions. Just give us a call, and we will be glad to assist you. Again, until next week, thank you. God bless.
Amen.